Hi, everybody. So, when I was thinking about this, I realized how absolutely indecisive I am trying to come up with a topic. But I realized as entrepreneurs, and it seems like most in this room are, that we have to make a bunch of critical decisions throughout our entire career and our entire path to become an entrepreneur. So I thought, okay, I'm going to tell a story about 3 decisions I made that pretty much informed my path as an entrepreneur. I was always very entrepreneurial at a young age. I'm assuming a lot of you were as well. I remember when I was about 7 years old, I set up a table on the sidewalk outside of my parents' house, and I wanted to differentiate myself from all the other kids that were selling lemonade. So I just took things from my house that I thought were valuable and that my mom wouldn't notice, like silverware and picture frames. And needless to say, I made no sales, but I learned a very early valuable lesson about product market fit. So my first decision that I made on this long journey that we're all on was probably about 15 years ago. I was still in school. I was living in Philadelphia, and I decided, I need money. I'm only going to take jobs where I wear a costume. This was prior to me moving to Chicago and becoming, or trying to become, I did okay, a professional actor for a few years. And I said, okay, I'm only going to take jobs that wear costumes. That sounds like fun. So I did things like work on, I forget what the ship's called, the entertainment ship. And I said, I'll be a deckhand. Because the deckhands, they got to wear these shirts with epaulets, which I thought were cool. Because at night, when I used to still go out, I would go to 80s night at Shampoo, if anyone remembers that, in like the late 90s. It's like, I'm going to wear this to 80s night, and it's going to be awesome. That was a very short-lived job. I was like, I'm going to be an actor. So what do all actors do? Well, they work at restaurants. So I should learn how to do that first. So I got a job at City Tavern. Anyone ever been to City Tavern? Oh, this is on film. This place is terrible. And it was like the worst service job ever. But I cut my teeth doing that. But it's historically accurate. So I wore this stupid getup of this colonial garb. That was somewhat short-lived, but at least I made some money. And I did a ton of other, acting jobs that you would do, for example, which I got paid very good money for, about $90 an hour, to be Captain Morgan. So I dressed up as the captain, and one night went to a bunch of bars with my Morganettes and trying to pitch rum. So that took me to Chicago, where I became an actor, and I did quite well at the business. And this is really the start of my entrepreneurial career. Being a real actor that makes money, you run your own business. Everything that you do as an entrepreneur running your company, it's for yourself. There's a lot of actors, and most of them are terrible because they don't take it as a business. So I got really good at it. I mean, I got auditions, I got callbacks, and if anyone knows about the acting world, callbacks are very, very important to your agent. That means you got the job. I was the king of second place, so everyone's like, you're doing great, you got the callbacks, but I made no money. I got so good. I mean, things like, and here's a good tip, I remember you would have your headshot and you would staple your resume to the back. So I bought the whitest paper, the brightest, whitest, thickest paper. So on this big stack that the casting director sees, mine would stand out. What's funny is now I still buy expensive paper, and when my last company, I'd write a lot of RFPs or proposals, and I would get comments that, wow, your paper is really, really nice. So buy good paper when you're doing proposals. So I'm doing really good, I'm getting all these auditions, and then the casting director goes, action. I go, oh shit, I totally forgot to work on that acting part. So it turns out I was not a very good actor, but became a really good business person. So that was my first decision. My second decision, a little more serious, but probably the time I was the most decisive was when my father, who worked very hard, did all the right things, the things you were supposed to do. He worked in higher ed, which if anyone works with higher ed, and I do now, it's very political. My dad was terrible at politics. He didn't play the game, but he did the things you're supposed to do, and he lost his job. And that was the day when I said, I am never working for anybody else. I'm done. There's no way. And of course, I took jobs, and that's been a common theme. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it too. I mean, and it's unfortunately, even as recent as a few months ago, my father-in-law, who has been a steelworker his entire life, 2 years away from retirement, just got locked out. He lives in Pittsburgh, and there's a huge industry-wide lockout of the steel industry, and he's screwed. I mean, hopefully it's going to work out, but he had to go find a job. And I'm not working for anybody. There's no, I'm sure you're here, right? There's no guarantee for anything unless you do it yourself. So if it's up to me if I want to make money, and I'm going to do that. So that was a very, very important lesson, and a very big decision for me to make that decision, and I'm sure many of you have also. And my final decision came a few weeks ago when I sat right there and talked to Andy and met him for the first time, and he told me about this thing he does called Startup Story Slam, and he said, "You should come, you should do a story." And I immediately said, yes. I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm going to talk about, and we had this discussion. It's things like this that are so important for entrepreneurs, because most of the time we're flying solo, making critical decisions every single day about the fate of our business. And I mean, for me, the fate of my family and my mortgage and all these other things, the fate of your employees. And you can't be on the fence with these types of decisions. You could be wrong, that's okay, but you can't not be decisive when making those decisions. And when you're flying solo, it's so important to have events like this, which are entertaining, but also foster that sense of community, which I love, and especially in the city, that are so important to help each other make those decisions. So those are my 3 decisions that inspired me to become an entrepreneur. Thank you.